You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us.
Quando você ouve um podcast, está procurando entretenimento ou conhecimento, certo? E se você procura por desempenho e qualidade para o seu veículo, qual a sua escolha? Os amortecedores Kraft têm tecnologia Ford e oferecem uma condução suave para uma viagem tranquila e segura. Escolha a confiabilidade dos amortecedores Kraft, válidos para a linha K, Fiesta, EcoSport e muito mais. Quando terminar seu podcast, é só acessar a loja da Ford no Mercado Livre e experimentar a diferença.
Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. Yes, a YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim live in Green Bay. We've got Jacob in Wisconsin on the Minnesota border here to talk a little Packers this evening. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight? I know we got a little off the rails here in the pre-show meeting, but tends to happen from time to time.
Feeling good, man. We got the three amigos here, man. I love it.
Absolutely.
How's it going, Jacob?
Oh, man, I'm good. I'm tired. Like we talked about, worked a long time, drove a long time, but I got a cool flower shirt on again. And Tim, was there a nice strong wind blowing where you were all day?
Oh, yes. It looked like a tree threw up in my front yard. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice out, and if you could enjoy it, it was nice, but it was very breezy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we hit about 83 down here today, man. It was pretty nice weather. I think we're expecting some storms the next couple of days, but that's how May is down here in Tennessee. So we'll hunker down and get through those and be ready. But I'll tell you, man, June's right around the corner. We're roughly how many days away? I mean, it's a little over a week, right?
You say that you're knee high to a June bug?
I'd say that's a pretty accurate assessment there, Jake.
Don't click that, Tim, please.
There it is. So we could go a number of different routes today as far as the pod. Obviously, not a whole lot coming out of OTAs. I do want to lead off with the news of the day, and we got a little more information uncovered about the injuries that we heard about yesterday. It's the first time I heard about them was yesterday, and it's really wild to see how it ties into how the draft unfolded and one of the free agent signings as well. I think the only free agent signing to the best of my knowledge. So you guys know we've heard Zach Tom and Tucker Kraft were both had their arms in slings, right? It ended up being both of them tore their pec, right? So immediately we think, and I'm just speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for the guys. I immediately thought, okay, did Tucker, wreck a jet ski or something on the honeymoon? Like what happened to the pec there, right? And then Zach Tom kind of similar. The information came out today on Wildy and Tausch is the first time I've heard it. So I definitely want to give them credit. It was Wildy talking to Balaga. It sounds like they both tore their pec bench pressing in the facility. So immediately you think the new strength.
Say that again. I gotta cue this up. Say that again. They did what?
So yeah, they basically tore their pecs bench pressing in the facility. So I'm going to ask you guys, and it may have happened last year and I overlooked it. When was the last time we heard about a Green Bay Packer player tearing a pectoral muscle in the facility working that?
Matt LaFleur was the last Packer to do it.
What's crazy is they all three did it here recently, right? Now, we found out the timeline. It happened, I think Tucker Kraft's happened 10 days ago. And if I understood correctly, Zach Tom's happened mid-April. Okay, so mid-April. Now, think about this. You're coming up on the draft. It sounds like if the timeline lines up just right, Zach Tom tore his. They signed Andre Dillard, right, the offensive tackle. They signed him 2 days after it happened. And then lo and behold, we draft Jordan Morgan in the first round. It's kind of like, I'm not saying the draft board didn't line up. I guarantee the draft board lined up for Jordan Morgan to be picked, but it's just like, man, maybe that's why they went ahead and said, you know what? Got a couple of players here on the board, even grades. Let's go with the offensive tackle here. But the first thing I think of, and I want to get your all's take on it, is we go from hamstring university here, right? So they fire the strength and conditioning coach, bring in a new one from the San Francisco 49ers, right? And now we've got 2 torn pecs. When was the last time you guys remember it? Seriously, a player on the Packers team tearing a pec.
A long, long time. Couldn't even tell you the last. I mean, Jacob, can you think of anyone?
No.
You mean in the last, like, maybe 10 years?
Yeah.
No.
Could just be a crazy coincidence, right? Could be. I hope it is. But I guarantee you, like they were saying on Wildy and Tausch earlier today, they're probably stepping back a touch and going, okay, what are we doing here? Something had to have happened, right? Like, what are we doing with the regimen? It's just wild that we're so early in the process and that happens, just something to kind of keep our eye on for sure. So just wanted to mention that was the newest details that came out on that whole situation. That kind of caught all of us off guard. But, yeah, sounds like they were both bench pressing. And with Tucker, the sucky part was Tucker said, evidently he told reporters, it was on his last rep of the day too.
Oh,
so
my
it's just
gosh.
like, you know what I mean? Just like, yeah. So
Probably going for that extra one more. There's always one more, right?
Yeah. And there was a rumor too, they were speed benching, which is, we always called it burnout. I'm assuming it's the same thing. Jacob, you probably know the similar thing. Like, you've got your max out days and then you've got your burnout days where you're just trying to get as many reps on lighter weight as possible, right? Sound like it might have been a situation like that. But nonetheless, what I'm hearing is 3 to 6 months is typically, if you get the surgery, depending on how it heals. Now, obviously, if it happened mid-April, you got May, June, July. Good chance they're going to be ready for week 1, right? I feel comfortable saying that. But I also feel comfortable saying they're probably not going to get many, if at all, any reps in training camps. So,
and everybody heals different, right? It depends on how that rehab goes and how that muscle heals up. So,
yeah, here we go. M. Smitty says, depending on the grade of tear, recovery time can be from 6 to 12 weeks, partial grade 2, or up to 6 months for a full rupture. So, and I think if I understood correctly too, Tucker Kraft, when he described it, he said he felt it pop and it popped right off the bone. So I imagine it did.
Brutal.
Yeah. So there you go. Again, not trying to come in here and be the bearer of bad news, but just wanted to kind of clear that up. That's the information that I've heard today. If you guys have heard something different in the chat, let us know. But it seems to be, what's going on. And it's one of those things that, like, it's just like with defense. We talked about it last year. You can say, oh, we want a more aggressive defense. There's pros and cons to every different type of defense. Same thing with offense. Same thing with strength and conditioning, right? You put a little more emphasis on this spot, you're going to get a little more wear and tear on that spot as opposed to the other, right? So another thing that came out too, I've seen someone had wrote an article on it. It sounded like Christian Watson, the reason and I'm kind of speaking in layman's terms, I could be completely out of pocket. The reason he was having hammy problems was the doctor determined, I believe, that he carries more weight on one leg than the other. So he's one of those guys that kind of puts more stress on one leg than the other type thing. So maybe they're trying to work through that. So, yeah, we'll see how it all unfolds. But anything you guys want to add to that before we move on here?
I mean, I'm just a little bit – I tried not to pull the panic button when I started hearing about some of this weird injury stuff, especially the floor thing. But like you said, there's definitely a clear pattern now. And we're forgetting about the fact that, like Chewy's bringing up right here, Jones had a hamstring issue. And I heard that there was at least one – I can't remember what the other player was, but there was another player that was sitting out with a hamstring issue. So it's like in a span of a few short weeks, we've had 3 torn pecs, multiple hamstrings. And, yeah, they were, like, focusing on the fact that they stretch longer or whatever that case would be. Like you said, Clayton, maybe like this new guy has a really elongated stretching pattern, but he has focused on more explosion and that kind of stuff, which is why maybe they're doing that really fast twitch reps and that kind of stuff. Well, maybe something along the line isn't, going the right way, and that's why guys are getting hurt. It's a little scary. Not even really into the off season yet. So,
yeah, and you know how it always is, man. It's next man up as I finish getting the rest of this flu out of my body. Next man up, guys, take over. But, let's see here. Yeah, M. Smitty said, Clayton, that's correct. It was an article done by, I think, Mike Spofford. Okay, cool. And Jim confirmed, said he had 20% more strength in one leg. Compensation for the strength differential caused the problem. So let's see here. Coach Lynn says that happens all the time. Glad Watson figured out what's going on. Absolutely. Anyone who's had I had a pretty severe back injury. I ruptured 2 discs in the lower right vertebrae, like on the lower right side of my bottom vertebrae. And what ends up happening is you end up shifting your weight to the other side as you're recovering, and you do damage to that side. So just little things like that can throw you out of balance. Not that me walking to the fridge to get another daddy soda requires more physical, more physicality than playing professional football. I'm just saying though. So there you go.
Is the music?
What'd you say, Tim? You cut out there, buddy. What'd you say, Tim?
I said, this is what you play when you go to the kitchen to get a daddy soda?
It is. That's the music they play when they're working on these guys' pecs, man. I think they're in there, you know what I mean? They're in the shop. They're trying to get everything straightened out. So, I don't know. But since we were kind of talking about the physicality of the sport, I thought this was real cool. Matt Schneidman appeared on the Pat McAfee show today. Anybody who listens to my show or has listened to me for some time, I'm a big Pat McAfee fan. I just love their approach. It's just, hey, we're only here on this. We're stuck on this ball of mud for a short amount of time. Let's just have some fun while we're here type thing. Don't take themselves too serious. But they had Matt Schneidman on there today, and they just kind of took him around and asked him, hey, what do you think? What do you think about the Packers in general? And he specifically spoke about the linebacker room. I'm going to play the clip here. Again, this is from the Pat McAfee show earlier today. And again, it's Matt Schneidman who covers the Packers, talking about this Packers defense. Let's see what he had to say.
About their defense. I know they brought in Jeff Hafley to be their new defensive coordinator. People are excited, like how aggressive his scheme may be. What are the expectations of that defense, and how will it look different from last year?
Yeah, the big difference is Xavier McKinney, who they signed to a contract worth more than $16 million a year at safety. Their top 3 safeties from last year are not here anymore. But I think, an underrated difference is their middle linebacker position. I'm not sure, and I'm not just catering to who I'm talking to right now. I don't know if the Packers have had 2 middle linebackers like this since A.J. Hawk and Desmond Bishop, 10 years ago.
Wow, good pamper on the birthday. I like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
They drafted Edgerrin Cooper in the 2nd round out of Texas A&M. He was the only guy in this draft class to lead his team in tackles for lost sacks, and forced fumbles, and that was for a top 10 defense in Texas A&M. They have Quay Walker coming back. Devondre Campbell, who they had the last couple of years, a former All-Pro, is now with the 49ers. So they really beefed up the inside linebacker position, made some improvements in the secondary, and they think they've turned the corner with Jeff Hafley in terms of who they've given him to work with personnel-wise. Packers only had 7 interceptions last year.
Oh, yeah.
That was second worst in the league. He's a DB specialist, whether it's his work.
I'll just say I'm pretty sure they have more dropped interceptions than they actually caught, to be honest with you.
At Ohio State, Boston College, or his work as a position coach in the NFL. So the Packers really hope he can help them turn a corner.
Yeah, I had no idea who he was. Shout out to him getting hired, and then the more people talk about him, they're like, yep. Yeah, I think like Richard Sherman was like, yep, yep. This is a great hire, and I know Packers fans, at least the one that we're around on a regular basis, and he doesn't overreact or anything like that to anything.
No, of course not.
He was about done with that defense, for a matter of 5-6 years. So now there has to be a little bit of optimism, at least, right, Ty?
Yeah, absolutely. And he looks exactly like Talk, which certainly doesn't hurt.
Well,
no, I'm telling you, you put those guys, same haircut, same facial structure, same nose shape. It's
a little resemblance.
It's crazy.
You can't see any of that because he's behind a computer right now, but he is. He has 1 ear on a clip, 1 ear on the live show.
Yep.
And he's just captioning and editing in between. Put that on repeat for 8 straight hours. If D coordinator does that type of diligence to
for sure
defensive football, we got nothing but great times ahead. Go ahead.
So there you go. Obviously, them talking about. I thought it was cool that they name dropped A.J. Hawk and Desmond Bishop, and you guys remember. Desmond came in, I want to say around 07, 08. And if you'll remember too, he won that job with that preseason hit. You guys remember when he hit that guy, his helmet came off. Not only does his helmet went one way and the dude's do-rag went the other. I remember that. Only time I've ever seen in football where you decleated someone, took their helmet off and their do-rag too, and they went in separate directions. It was absolutely wild. But I thought it'd be cool to kind of walk down memory lane. There's no sound here. We'll just talk over it. Here's a clip put together of A.J. Hawk and Desmond Bishop. So there's no sound. Let's just kind of talk over this real quick. A little bit grainy, but look, man, I miss these days. Look at A.J.
Oh, my
Look
goodness.
at badmouth A.J. I just will not stand for it. Look at Desmond right there. This is the type of linebacker play we want to get back to, man. Poor Donovan McNabb had no clue. What was he doing playing for Washington anyway, bro?
This might have been the last time it was pretty tough to run against the Green Bay Packers.
Right. Exactly. Look at that. Just jumping routes. You didn't see that last year from old Devondre Campbell, did we?
No.
Oh, look at this against Brett.
Against Brett. I remember that game.
Right
Yep.
between the 5 and the 0.
Dude, AJ can move.
Yeah, man.
He was a beast, man.
Absolutely.
Number 4 overall pick, number 5 overall pick, somewhere. I know he's in the top 5 for sure.
I thought it was 5.
Yeah. I think this is Desmond here firing off. No, that's AJ, ain't it? Yeah, we want to get back to this kind of linebacker. I like this one right here. Look at Bishop. Pick 6. Look at AJ. Just going to moon.
That's right. Yeah.
Just moonwalking into the end zone. I love it.
Yeah, this was Favre's second visit to Lambeau, if you guys will remember. Obviously he came into Lambeau the first time and just demolished the Packers. This second visit, man, they just absolutely owned him, man. And this was vintage Favre in the purple, right? Just throw it to the other team, bub. Throw it to the other team. So, yeah, Desmond Bishop was a lot of fun to watch, man. No doubt about it. Look how thick he was, too, man. Yeah.
You already know.
Oh, look at that on Tom Brady. What's this? Yeah. Bang.
Jeez.
Yeah. And what I loved about AJ Hawk always did this. Watch AJ Hawk. See him fill the gap. See him take on the center and the guard there. That's what he did. He was so unselfish.
Look at B.J. Raji taking on 2.
Yeah, walking him. Just
you talk about thick.
Thick.
Man.
Oh,
This is a fun defense to watch. This was the 34 zone blitz defense is what this was. This was Dom Capers. Look at that.
And
you forget how good Desmond Bishop was, right, Jacob?
he's so explosive. He reminds me of Adrian Cooper, kind of, or vice versa.
Hey, how about that?
Love it.
Little strip sack.
Nothing dirty from these guys. Just playing hard ball, good, clean, legit hits, man. It's just hard-nosed football. Gotta love it.
I couldn't tell you how many times I said this, man. Yeah, the AJ Hawk's claim to fame, in my opinion, is how he shut down Adrian Peterson. Like he was, you could tell he was the one that was like, we are not letting 28 run all over us today. I went to several games, was in the house and watched him play against Adrian Peterson. Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers' first start. AJ, I think he was playing injured that day too, if I remember correctly. They had his shoulder all strapped up in one of those shoulder slings or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just a monster, man. Always played hurt. Look at that stick right there.
Oh, Eli, trouble.
There's AJ again. Another interception.
Yeah, man.
So much fun to walk down memory lane and see some of these, man.
I mean, you had Aaron Rodgers with the offense that we had during these years. I mean, you just look at that D, man. I really wish we would have got more than one Super Bowl in that run.
I'll tell you what, they are a lot more lax with the quarterback hitting around this era. You can tell that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
Oh, Cutler.
Miss Smoking Joe.
Season on the line. I'm riding the bike on the sideline.
Hey, look at Desmond on this blitz right here, boys. Look at him right off the edge. Tackle didn't even bite. Bang on Mike Vick. Let's go.
I remember this. Wasn't this?
I think that's the divisional. Yeah, the wild card round. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I remember this.
Yeah. This might be. I thought this. No, it wouldn't be the Clay Matthews. But look at Hawk right here. Let's go get him.
I don't remember him being dominant like this, man.
Because everybody, what it was, Jacob, he was a top 5 pick, and everybody just expected him to just take over a game. It's like, if you read off the accolades, he was a team captain, what did he play? 12, however many years it was. Like this dude, he was the epitome of an extremely high floor player. You knew what you got every single Sunday, man. Look at him right there, dude, roping people down.
Yeah, that sticks out to me too, Clayton. When I think of AJ Hawk, one of the most consistent Packers we've ever had. Just even keel, consistent play.
All right.
Definitely. I mean, anything near him, he's putting them down.
And was always going to play, man. You're going to have to drag him off that field.
Yep.
Going to have to drag him off. So, I don't know, man. I love that stuff. And when Matt Schneiden mentioned it, immediately made me think of, all right, let's see if we can go find a clip. I went to YouTube right off the bat, found an AJ Hawk / Desmond Bishop highlight reel. I'm like, oh, let's go, dude. Them coupled together. I think people forget how good Desmond Bishop was. You know, he was one of those guys that I think he was undrafted, if I remember correctly. Got invited to camp. And like I said, that one preseason hit where the helmet went one way and the do-rag went the other. That's how he ended up, in the roster. I was in the Packer Pro Shop waiting in line to get autographs from Antonio Freeman and Robert Brooks. And we were watching, this was on a Sunday, we were watching the Jets. Brett Favre played for the Jets on one of the TVs in the Pro Shop. And the guy beside me, we got to talking about Desmond Bishop. He said, man,
we all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us.
A Max, seu streaming queridinho, veio aqui no seu podcast para saber. Você curte reality aventureiro ou prefere um conteúdo mais emocionante? Seja lá qual for seu preferido, tem na Max. Os realities que você ama, como Quilos Mortais, agora em versão 100% brasileira. E tem novidade, Sobrevivência Extrema vai ser o seu novo vício para maratonar. Tem Largados e Pelados, Masterchef, Operação Fronteira e muito mais conteúdo brazuca para ver. Vida real para todos os gostos é na Max.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I've been watching football a long time. It's the first time I've ever seen someone make the roster off of one preseason hit. He said, but I'm glad he's on the team. And that's exactly which hit he was talking about. You know what I said to him? Oh, that's the one where the dude lost the do-rag, right? So, gotta love that place, man. Absolutely awesome. All right, let's see what we got in the chat here real quick. There we go. Drew D says, too bad Bishop had that bad injury at the end of his career early. See, I didn't even know that, Drew. I knew he went on to play for Minnesota, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong there, but I didn't even realize he had a career-ending injury. I was kind of wondering what happened to him. I know he obviously didn't play for the Packers. I want to say he played like 4 or 5 years for him, and then he went to Minnesota. And just like anybody else that joins Minnesota, you lose. Who cares, right? Bishop drafted in the 6th round, okay, in 2007. My bad. So I was wrong on that. I was thinking he was undrafted. So 6th round pick, man. Definitely outperforming that draft pick for sure. Let's see here. We got Pac Fan in Ohio says, let's go, Pac Fan. Iowa in the house. Going to be a great year. Excited for the defense. Amen, brother. Amen. And then let's see here. Ben Holden earlier was talking about the offensive line. He said OTA video had some interesting starting lineup with what appeared Elton Jenkins at right tackle, Sean Ryan at left guard, Josh Myers at center, Rasheed Walker at left guard, and Telford at left tackle. What the hell's going on, man? Jacob, what happened there, man? Did Coach Buckus show up on the giggle bush that day or what, man?
I don't know. I heard some rumors that Telford was taking snaps at guard, but I didn't hear the weird, wacky musical chairs version of it, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
So he was on the giggle bush.
Stay off the damn weed.
All right, so Packers.com. Actually, let's go to another McAfee clip here. This was Matt Schneidman talking about Jordan Love's contract situation. I don't think there's any new information here. We'll play it anyway. And Jacob, I know you've been out of the loop for a couple of days here. I want to get your take on the Love contract. I never got a chance to really ask you, hey, how much are you willing to pay? So get your answer ready for that, big dog. But here we go with Matt Schneidman talking about, updating us on the Jordan Love contract extension here on the Pat McAfee Show.
Only ringing questions here are, is Jordan Love's deal going to get done? And are they going to be better than they were last year because of how young they were? That seems to be the conversation piece. Is that what it feels like on the ground? And what are your eyes on products saying to you, Matt Schneidman?
Yeah, so obviously the most important storyline right now is Jordan Love's contract. He's there. He showed up. He's been one of the guys who, I know Ty talked about it earlier. They had 90 out of 91 guys there yesterday. The one who wasn't there was excused for a personal matter. Matt LaFleur said this has been the best offseason attendance of any of his now 6 years here. Keyshawn Nixon, their all-pro kick returner, said yesterday that it's just a reflection of the fact that they thought they let one slip away against the 49ers last playoffs, and they want to come in energized, ready to go because they think they can win a Super Bowl this year. So Jordan Love's deal is going to get done. There's no question about that. There's no rush right now, I would say, because it's not like he's holding out or anything. It's just a matter of doing it right. Brian Gutekunst said this offseason, he wasn't going to rush it. I would be stunned if Jordan Love steps foot on a preseason game field without a new deal. So maybe this could be something that gets done, right before training camp starts. But certainly, I don't sense that it's something that's imminent. But I wouldn't be too concerned if anyone out there thinks that there's a chance of this not getting done.
I can't believe they hit another dinger.
Absurd.
I mean, it makes sense because that's seemingly what they do, but he is a guy easily to say that.
I love it. That's the whole reason I wanted to play the clip. We could have just played the last 10 seconds. I can't believe they hit another dinger. I'm telling you, man, when I was hanging out with my nephew, who's a big Vikings fan, we had a surprise birthday party for my brother-in-law here at the house, and we were sitting out there, and we got to talking to another football fan, and we were talking about Jordan Love, and my nephew, being the Vikings fan, was just like, watching him on New Year's Eve, he went, it's not fair. Like, he was so devastated, bro. It was just like, you couldn't have said anything to make me happier than to hear a young Vikings fan say, it's not fair that y'all found another quarterback. That's just awesome. But, Jacob, we were talking about Jordan Love's contract. We laid some numbers out the other night. I know you've been working like a madman. One of the things that we uncovered, I think the Packers, depending on which site you go to, roughly 62 to 64 million under the cap in 2025. We talked about some of the contract comparisons, with Goff's cap hit in 2025 being 32.6 million, Joe Burrow's cap hit in 2025 jumping to 46 million. So we're kind of looking at that $40 million range for a cap hit. Now, I know the guaranteed money is the most important part, but as far as cap hit allocation, more or less average annual per, what number would you put on Jordan Love that you go, hey, here, maybe let's do this. What's the highest number you would go to, Jake?
I don't know, man. I think it's kind of an arbitrary question because I think it's going to dictate or be dictated by what the other guys get, and then they're going to start measuring, what, and then the agents are going to get involved with it, and then it's just going to keep resetting the market like we've seen. I just want to get a deal done, I guess, is the biggest thing. I don't want to keep stretching this out and have that be like a drum, any sense of cause of drama or whatever. So I guess I'd be fine. If we went to 50, I guess I'd be fine. If we went to like 52, I guess I'd be fine. Like if the guaranteed money, like you said, is more of the important part.
Right.
I have a feeling like Lawrence or Tua or one of these other guys, if they start signing contracts and they keep one-upping each other, I mean, I could see it getting to a point where 55, like I really don't care, but it's definitely not going to make me comfortable or happy. It's just really matching. And again, I feel like, what's his name? Mulligatu, so hot right now. I feel like that he's
Mulligeta, I think.
David Mulligeta. I know his name, but
I think Mulligatu sounds better, to be honest.
Yeah, I do too. I think you should use that, but I think that he's probably pushing a little bit harder than Jordan, I think, cares, to be honest with you. It seems like Jordan's just like ready to play and just wants to get paid fairly, but I feel like Mulligatu wants to make it like put his real stamp on the league and say, I just got Jordan the highest paid, or at least top 3 or top 2 or whatever the bragging rights can kind of say, because he's one of the more up and coming. I didn't know who this dude was, I'll be honest, until like halfway through the season last year, and I'm like, who? And apparently he's like the
top dog right now.
Yeah, like he's the dude. So I don't know. I think I'd be cool, like I said, anywhere from the 50 to 55, depending on what the market's dictating. And then after that, I just hope that he doesn't get that money and pack it in. And I don't think he's gonna, though. I think he's very motivated. So I'm not really worried about the money, to be honest. I'm really not.
Yeah, I'm not either, man. The thing that's going to hurt is, and they kind of talked about it on Wildy and Tausch earlier today, was let's say you don't get the contract done before week 1, right? And Jordan goes and balls out. If you're his agent, and let's say he goes out, and this is what Bulaga said. Bulaga said, I don't see a scenario where he's going to hold out. You go out there and you play, and you earn that money, and you earn even more money. And when you go out and you throw for 300 yards in week 1 and a couple tutters, then you have your agent call them up in week 2 and go, guess what? The price just went up.
Yep.
The price just went up. That's the way that works, right? So I think obviously you can keep the cap hit per year down if you go with more guaranteed money. That kind of goes without saying. I think they'll get it done. I think they'll get it done before training camp. That's just me personally. You could tell Jordan wants to be there. Jordan is being a leader in every sense of the word too, man.
You know what? I think that this is checking out. Gypsy Mike says that's kind of what I was thinking in my head, which I was trying to articulate, but I couldn't really put it this way because I'm a little scatterbrained right now. But he says I think that Love putting up only a half a good season, a 4-year, $45 million deal with $90 million guaranteed would be about right. If he gets in the playoffs and wins and all that kind of stuff, basically looks good over the next couple of years, renegotiate. I think Love would be cool with that. I just don't think his agent's going to let him do it because I think his agent knows that he can hold his hands to the fire and hold his feet to the fire, whatever you want to say. And I think that he's going to stretch it out. But like Ryan's talked about on his podcast, I feel like Goot owns a lot of that negotiation. Like he can let him play out this contract, franchise him again. And then, like you said, it's kind of,
and that's definitely from a technicality standpoint, absolutely. Goody holds all the leverage. The problem is
that's going to mess the locker room up something fierce.
Big time. Yeah, that's the thing that anyone who mentions that and then they don't add the caveat of, hey, look, you're kind of playing with fire there and you're going to upset the locker room. I mean, that's a real thing, Tim. We seen it firsthand with Aaron Rodgers, whether people want to admit it or not. They played hardball with Devontae Adams and they played hardball with Aaron Rodgers. And you had to rebuild that locker room. Now, credit to Goody. He rebuilt that damn thing quick. I mean, he flipped that locker room real fast, right? But it's a real thing, man. Tim, you're talking about real human beings, dude, right? I mean, it's not just we're not playing Madden here. All right, who's got the best rating? Yeah, we'll pay him. All right, now these are real human beings, and team chemistry is a real thing, man.
It is, and I don't see Jordan doing the holdout either. I don't think it'll come to that. And I think anything that's in the wheelhouse or close, I think if negotiations get to a point where, they're splitting hairs on a few details, I think it'll get resolved pretty quickly. And, I think they'll get it done, whether it's something, like that 4-year kind of deal, or maybe it's not, maybe it's 6, maybe it's more. We don't know. But I think we all have that feeling in our gut that Jordan's the guy. And I think it's kind of the known unknown right now. And, I don't think he steps on a preseason game playing field either without a deal. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it'll be done well before that. And hopefully, things will go smooth, man, with negotiations. But hey, agents got to do what they got to do, right? It's their job to get that money for their clients. So we'll see how it goes.
Have you guys noticed, and maybe you talked about this, but in his interviews, which has been kind of few and far between, but he seems like he's made a really big jump, almost like to the point when LaFleur, remember when he was so all shucks to LaFleur, and then around like year 2, year 3, he kind of settled into that. Like, I don't even like listen for the reporter to finish his question kind of thing. Like,
yeah, right. Tupac LaFleur. Yeah.
They've asked now Love a few times if you recently, like, hey, what about the contract? He's like, I'm not, and he kind of cut him off. He's like, I don't want to talk about contracts. Like, I'm not going to do it that much. It kind of looked a little annoyed. He's getting confidence. And I think I read another post too that LaFleur said like he's a totally different dude now. Like he knows he's the leader. He's walking around like he's the leader. He's had a few camps in his belt. He's got like a rapport now with Watson and Dobbs, and now another set of receiver group, with all these young dudes. So like they've all kind of gelled. I think that's something that needs to be thought about here. We're not paying him for what he's done. We're paying him for what we think his ceiling is, and
exactly right.
What his ceiling can be for that half. I think.
Yeah, and as a business owner, I don't like that. I don't like that. Okay, forget what you've done. What do we think you're going to do? That's what we're going to pay you for. It's kind of the opposite with business, but that you hit the nail on the head, and that's how the NFL operates. We're going to pay you for what we think you're projecting to do. Right?
Yep.
That's pretty apparent across the league. The other thing too that's gotten kind of swept under the rug in most cases is a comment that Jordan made, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he essentially said, Jordan's a Christian, right? He wears that on his sleeve. He's proud of it. It's one of the things that I just respect the heck out of him for. He said, I believe in God, and I believe that God's got a plan. I ain't worried about it getting injured. If I get injured, that was part of God's plan. It's that simple. Like, I love that, dude. I love the fact that he is the leader. And like you said, Jacob, he's starting to kind of turn the corner almost a little bit, like he'll look into the reporter's eyes a little bit like, hey, listen, I'm the captain now. Like, you know what I mean? That type of thing. I love it, dude. I love it. I do. It's just kind of that quiet leadership, and it was all over the scouting reports that he got that characteristic from his late father, that his dad was just this leader in the community and a guy that everyone could turn to. And when everyone else would get shook up and everyone else would get, kind of rattled, his dad was just that calming influence. You can tell Jordan's got that, man. It's so cool. It's so cool. Ballroom Blitz has a podcast said there, maybe Jordan is waiting for Tua's new contract, and I say give him the money. And that's the thing, is these dominoes start to fall into place every time. It's going to reset the market, and the number's going to go up. There's no doubt. Greg Rice says if he plays without a new contract, he is screwed if he gets hurt. That's the big thing. Like, that you got to understand from the player's perspective. And again, this may benefit the Packers too. Let's say they come out and they say 5 years, $200 million, right? And $150 million guaranteed. And some will go, whoa, that's less than Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff got $170 million. That's true. But from the player's perspective, you got to look up and go, okay, I'm making $11 million this year, or I can get a $150 million check deposited into my account. That's not an easy decision, is it, Tim?
No.
Knowing that you could get hurt and lose every bit of it, man.
Yep.
So
that's the thing about the NFL, man, with that guaranteed money,
Yep.
I think that's going to be a huge bargaining chip too in these negotiations is, what's guaranteed versus what's not. And, they got to kind of meet in the middle. That's what they're going to have to do. But I think they get it done, man. And, hopefully, we got another guy that's going to be QB1 for, 15, 16 seasons here. And we just do it all over again and make those Vikings and Bears and Lions fans mad again as we continue the journey.
Yeah. Dave's MX6 says Mulugeta is going for that money. Might be 47, but 150 million guaranteed. Ron Samville says there's no way I would settle for that if I was Love's agent. I mean, he, like you said, man, the market is just going to continue to go up, and they got all that media money as well. Ballroom Blitz says, do not franchise him. That is bad. I completely agree. And again, I understand. I'm not trying to dog people that say, well, you can franchise tag him. It's definitely an option. And again, on a technicality standpoint, absolutely it is. But again, who was the last team to franchise a quarterback? All right.
Man.
Kirk Cousins in Washington, they did it twice. How'd that work out for Washington? Right.
Yeah. Dak Prescott. Yeah. I was just going to say Dak Prescott.
And where are they at negotiations now? They're still in the same boat they were in 5 years ago, where there's all this discontent and they don't, you know what I mean? Like when you're operating a business, whether it's sports or anything, you've got to commit to people. You've got to be willing to go, okay, look, man, let's lock arms. Let's get this done together. You go back and watch 2010. That team had chemistry. That team, they loved one another. You hear Charles Woodson's locker room speech that everybody talks about at halftime when he broke his collarbone. You hear the story about the sports psychologist that Coach McCarthy had with them at the hotel the night before. And I think it was C.J. Wilson, I believe was his name. I always screw his name up. Started playing on the piano and said they all gathered around. They said it was a Christian song. And they all started singing together. And they said that sports psychologist nudged – this is Coach McCarthy talking about. He nudged him. He said, you see that? You just won the damn Super Bowl. That's what he said. Because they were locked arms. When you start – well, let's franchise tag him. Let's see him do it another year. And now all of a sudden, that player's upset. Not only remove the fact that they could be talking behind the scenes and kind of creating that rift in the locker room, other players, even without that talking, they're looking across the way going – that dude's done everything right, and they're not willing to pay him. Do I really want to be here?
Right.
And that's been the rumor in Green Bay the last few years. We want to stomp that out, man. I'm not saying you break the bank and be stupid with the money, but the market value is set. They're going to try to get more than the market value. You're trying to get less than it. Let's come to the table and meet and make it happen type thing. So it's either that or just say, hey, look, we're not sold on you. Be honest about it. We're not sold on you. Here's our plans. You know, you got to prove it another year. If you go that route, you got to be ready for the repercussions is all I'm saying. So Drew D in the chat says, yeah, I think Love will get at least $55 million per because that's what Burrow is getting as highest paid quarterback. That to me, Drew, I think that's the ceiling of the potential contract. I do. And he could very well reach that, right? But for me, I think it's closer to probably that 42, 43 range if you give a little bit more guaranteed money, right? Now, if you try to lowball the guarantee, he may exceed that $55 million per. You know, I can see that happening too. So didn't plan on talking about Jordan Love's contract this long, but it's good. This is good conversation. Obviously, the chat is just lit up. Eric Sutherland said, not to brag, but just got the twins through their second year of homeschooling to the 5th grade. Proud father. Let's go, Eric. That's what I'm talking about, buddy. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
You know, if there's anything that I Eric Sutherland teaching the youth of tomorrow.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, there we go. There's several people I'm looking forward to meeting at the draft. Eric's one of them. I'm just telling you.
Oh, yeah.
He's just one of those dudes I can't wait to meet. Drew D in the chat says, franchising a quarterback costs $38.3 million. Doesn't that sound great, guys? Like $38.3 million when everybody else has got these anywhere from $40 to $60 million cap hits. It's intriguing, right? You're not really saving much and making a lot of people angry. Plus, it's fully guaranteed then. So you got him kind of – he ain't going nowhere unless you're going to trade him, and I don't think anybody wants to trade Jordan Love, man. I mean, come on. So, yeah, good point there, Drew. Let's shift gears to the running back position. We're at the 40-minute mark. Here's a quick clip from Packers.com, Packers Daily, on the running back position here. Obviously bringing in Josh Jacobs and now Marshawn Lloyd. The big talk I'm hearing with Marshawn Lloyd is everyone who sees him is like, this dude is absolutely huge. He looks like a unit, man. I'm excited to see him run the football here this year. But like I said, here's a Packers.com video on the running backs.
I think I'm a player that I give you everything I got. I'm on every single play. I'm a guy that goes out there and I want to, set the tone.
Jacobs gets away, they can't bring him down.
Whether it's being physical or whether it's making a play or whatever the team needs, really. I think that kind of stamps who I am.
Jacobs right up the middle. Jacobs is on his way.
A phenomenal running back, all-pro a couple of times, and he's just one of those guys that's good in all situations. Good out of the backfield as a receiver. Excellent runner. He's a good pass protector. So he's one of those guys that you can really have in the game all the time and not have to worry about anything with him. And just, his experience, his leadership, I'm excited about having him here and doing a great job for us.
Josh Jacobs has ranked top 10 in rushing yards in 3 of his 5 NFL seasons, and his 295 missed tackles forced are the most in the NFL since 2019. And Green Bay recently signed another tackle breaker in 3rd-round running back Marshawn Lloyd.
And into the end zone goes Marshawn Lloyd.
He's very hard to tackle, very strong. He has all the skill set that we look for in a running back.
He's a 220-pound back that runs 4.4 and can run routes out the backfield. So I think he could be a matchup nightmare for opposing defenses.
He'll be physical enough to break tackles, but then also fast enough to give you those home run plays.
He's outside, foot race, Lloyd wins, touchdown.
We're a young offense. We're young, and we did so good. We were one of the youngest teams last year that were able to go as far as they did, and we're a year older. The teams are a year older. We got a couple more young guys coming up. So I think we have a chance to be special for quite some time.
Thick. I love how he's already saying we. Did you guys notice that? Yeah. We. Before he's even played a snap, man. You could tell that he just absolutely blew him away with the interview process and all that. What we were looking at here is yards per attempt last year by teams in the NFL. The Packers finished 12th at 4.3. Now, you guys know we did chalk talk. You've seen the PFF grades. The run blocking was really, really bad last year on the offensive line. So those yards that you're getting were mainly created by the running backs. Now, the beautiful thing is Marshawn Lloyd coming from USC, and we know the college numbers are overinflated. but him averaging over 7 yards a carry. And then, of course, like the numbers they pointed out with Josh Jacobs since being in the league, and then more specifically 2022, just absolutely dominating. I think we can match 4.3, guys. I think we got this. What do you think? How do you feel about this running back room? Let's go around the horn with that. Tim, I just noticed that hoodie, man. That's clean. Go ahead, bro.
Well, thanks, brother. Appreciate that. What are you saying now as far as the running back room? What's the question? Give me more of this running back room all of the time.
How do you think we'll stack up against that 4.3 per carry last year, which we were actually tied? I just noticed that we were tied for 8th best in the league.
I think with the talent we have now, in a lot of ways, we've definitely improved. Granted, that's, this is May. We're talking a little early. We haven't seen real football yet from these guys, but it looks like things are going to line up that we can match that last year's pace, if not crush that, man. Maybe bounce up a few rungs on that list. And I think most of that is going to be, I think we're going to see a heavier dose of Marshawn Lloyd than we had initially thought maybe early on when we first drafted him. Going and getting a running back in the draft like him is huge. We got Dylan on the sweetheart team friendly deal, right? So you've got some veteran presence there, and then you got we can't forget about Emmanuel Wilson, who adds depth as well, and then Josh Jacobs. I mean, there's no reason we can't do as well as we did last year, if not crush those numbers, honestly.
Yeah, and when you sort it by yards per game, Jacob, we actually come in the 15th spot at 112.1 yards per game, which obviously yards per carry much higher. They're tied for 8th. Just kind of shows you we didn't lean on the run as much as some other teams. When you look at attempts last year, the Packers actually land in the 22nd spot on run attempts. So maybe we get that number up this year too, Jacob. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, like Tim just highlighted, we got a lot of different guys. I mean, some of them have similar skill sets and that kind of stuff. I do think, like Tim said, I think that Lloyd's going to have a bigger role than we're anticipating. I think that Dylan maybe has some. I don't know what I don't want to dog Dylan at all, but I feel like they'll kind of throw him some second downs or third downs and shorts here and there just to kind of keep him into it. Maybe have him in for some pass protection, or
he could be that H-back. That
I mean, honestly, that'd be great if he could be, because I think we forget that he's pretty good at catching the ball and
really improved last year, man, no doubt.
Yeah.
And when he gets the wheels going, like once he gets momentum, he's tough to bring down.
But I think the thing that like you just said with Dylan, he does take a while to get to that speed though, where he's kind of a battering ram. And with Lloyd, we saw his kind of skill set is that he can stop and start and just be gone, even though he is like a bowling ball. And the Jacobs thing has got me a little nervous right now, but I really am kind of calm and confident about the fact that worst case scenario, which I'm not saying, knock on wood, that Lloyd / Dylan / again, Emmanuel Wilson, I'm not too worried about that squad, at least giving us a good edge. And I think that, the offensive line being together a little longer, having some more guys in there that possibly could, be a plug and play, better run driver than I guess the John Runyon Juniors or anything like that. Maybe let's hope that Myers takes a step and he just decides he's a freak all of a sudden. So I don't know.
Hey, I welcome it, man. I welcome it. So when you look at the personnel and the offensive identity on the 33rd team of the Green Bay Packers last year, you guys know going into the draft, we were highlighting running backs that had a lot of zone carries, right? Because we're a zone team. Obviously, this is a West Coast offense, what they refer to as the wide zone boot scheme. Now it's kind of evolved over the years. For 2 or 3 years, we really dove into the RPO aspect. We did a lot of pin and pull. We did a lot of duo, things like that, especially back in 2020 and 2021. And when you look at what we did last year, this was kind of surprising to me. Gap run, if you'll notice right here, gap run, they ran gap 32% of the time. That was 13th most in the league. They ran zone 68% of the time. That was 20th most. So from a percentage standpoint, right, you actually ran more gap than you did zone from a percentage standpoint there, which is pretty, not a percentage standpoint, but you know what I mean? Like as far as a percentage ranking across the league, pretty wild there. And when you look at the EPA though, this is the big thing. The EPA drop, that's expected points. When you look at the EPA, the gap run was 26th ranked. So you didn't get near as much efficiency out of the gap run as you did zone, which is why we were screaming on Chalk Talk all year, like, simplify it. Let's keep this thing inside, outside zone, right? These guys pulling, they're just not hitting their spots type of thing. So the EPA obviously shows you were less effective in that regard. And with zone run, you were not in the league. So maybe they will continue to press into gap a little bit more. Maybe they'll get that together. I feel like they did take a step back, stop the pulling a touch, get back to the basics, and the offense kind of took off there. Just some of the
Lloyd and Jacobs, though, you can do that, right? We should be able to run some gap for sure.
You can, I feel like they are really versatile. I do. Now, we showed you on the Chalk Talk segment of Marshawn Lloyd, ton of GT power. They ran a lot of RPO, a lot of pin and pull, things like that. So yeah, I think he's most comfortable in that, where he can be patient, read the lead block, hit the hole, go type thing. But
I think it's going to be, really, is this O-line going to come together, like we said, especially on the interior? If this offensive line clicks and is run blocking, we could be really, really dangerous with that backfield that we have.
Definitely. And this has nothing to do with the running game, but this really surprised. Look at the deep drop. 31% of the time we played a deep drop pass.
Yes.
Fifth most in the league, bro. LaFleur said, "You know what, Love? Just go out there and chuck it. Let's go."
Hey, look at all them highlights. You know how many pretty tutters we saw on those deep drops? Woo!
Absolutely.
That back foot. Come on now.
So, I'm excited to dive back into last year's highlights, man. I think we should start that tomorrow unless some news breaks. You guys good with that?
Yes.
Heck yeah, we'll do it, man. We'll get into it. So, yeah, that's just kind of what we had on tap tonight. If you guys would, we got a ton of people in here watching. Do us a huge favor. Just take a quick second and hit that like button for us here on YouTube. That will help boost the algorithm and help other Packer fans find the channel. We really, really appreciate y'all hanging out with us. It just shows you, like, Packer fans, it's May 22nd, and it's 8:49 Eastern time here, 7:49 Central. And we just got a ton of people in here just talking OTAs. I just love it, man. We get the best freaking fan base on the face of the planet. So, but again, just wanted to kind of get in here and hit on some of the topics. Some upsetting injury news. Obviously, we hit that. If you guys are just tuning in, Zach Tom and Tucker Kraft both have torn pecs. We're hoping they'll be back for week 1. It looks like they probably will, according to most timelines. Surgery's already taken place, so hopefully they can get that squared away and ready to go. So, outside of that, though, anything else you guys want to add to this before we wrap up? Man, we're at the 50-minute mark. We're going under an hour tonight, fellas. We can do this.
I don't personally have anything. I'll have to be probably in and out for the next week or so. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting more camp updates and hopefully no more injury updates because, there's a couple comments. If you wanted to hit them, we could probably get out of here in like 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Let's do it, man. Let's see what we got marked here. Ben Holden earlier in the chat said, talking about Desmond Bishop, 6'1.5", 239 pounds, 33 reps on the bench, 10-yard split was 159. Just a physical freak, man. Eric Sutherland says Jacob wears his autographed Jason Spriggs jersey to pick up chicks.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
Jason Spriggs. I know he just randomly Googled 2006 or whatever year it was, 2011, and said, yeah, that one will work right there. There's a guy that never did it. Here's a guy that didn't do anything.
Here's a guy.
AFAM says Eric doesn't let the twins leave the lunch table until they finish their woodworking projects. That'll be the comment of the night. Ron Sample says Jacobs played 45 of 51 games the last 3 years. Lost games were last year. Okay, got it. So let's see. You're checking out. Gypsy Mike said Dylan is a hybrid fullback. Bring him in on 3rd and short, either as a lead blocker, pass catcher, or give him the ball and give him a hole for a 4-yard run. I immediately thought of John Kuhn and the old saying, the famous funny line was, John Kuhn, if you need 2 yards, he'll give you 2 yards. If you need 3 yards, he'll give you 2 yards. That's what they said.
Remember when he was our lead running back for a few games? Or
yeah. Had to fill in.
He was a little interesting for a while. Yeah. I think we had 950 pass attempts that day.
Prince in the chat says A.J. Dillon / tight end Ben Sims or Davis can do H-back by committee. when needed based on needs for game day actives. I agree. I'm eager to see Tyler Davis. Many people like to dog Tyler Davis, all right? And there may or may not be one that's here on the show right now. But look at him squinting them eyes.
Never bring peanut butter to a jelly fight.
But the reality is, before Tyler Davis got hurt, I think it was the year before, he led the special teams in tackles. So, like, he's a legit special teams player, and he is someone that can play H-back. He can play wing. So it's obvious that that Coach LaFleur likes him a lot. He's bragged on that.
It's because
the sift block.
Exactly.
Exactly right. That sift, which you guys heard me. Chalk talk last year, boys. By the quarter mark through the season, I was like, enough of the sifting. I'm tired of seeing it. It's not working. All right. So yeah, we'll see if they go back to it this year and get it all geared back up. But yeah, we got Carly jumping in. As soon as we're hopping offline, Carly jumps in. Carly, we're wrapping this thing up. Bring us home here. What you got?
We got at least 7 minutes left, right?
Oh, see, I'm telling you, 7 minutes will lead to an hour 15. It's going to happen. It
always happens.
How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It finally got sunny near the afternoon. It was pretty cloudy and windy, but turned out to be a nice day. So
awesome. Good stuff. Well, we were just wrapping this thing up. Tim, you got anything else?
No, just excited, man, for more news to break. Hopefully good news. Hopefully guys on the mend, and hopefully injuries aren't as serious as we tend to freak out and think they are. I mean, it's just normal. It's May. It's still early. There's time to recover and time to realize that things aren't necessarily as bad as they seem on the surface. I mean, look at we just talked about JJ and Igbare out there running around with no knee sleeve, no nothing. So you know, you never know. We just got to take a chill pill and take this one day at a time here. And before you know it, it's going to be time for some good old training camp and a lot of pictures of me clinging to the fence like the little rascals. So can't wait. You know, excited.
Exactly. Carly, you got anything you want to add before we get off here? Anything
yeah,
else?
can I plug my fantasy league?
Yes, absolutely. Let's hear it.
Awesome. So guys, and any ladies that might be listening, I'm going to actually be a commissioner, I guess, of my own fantasy league, and I'm going to model it off of Jacob's from last year, which is a super flex. So 2 quarterbacks and stuff like that. So it's going to be it's not going to be just a basic league. It's going to be a little bit more strategy than that, but I'm hoping to gear it toward maybe people that have not done fantasy football before or are relatively new. So it's going to be a beginner friendly league. It's still going to be for money. It's still going to be just as intense, but we're going to hopefully have some people in addition to me on there that are cool about sharing strategy ideas and not like things like tell you who to draft or who to play, but at least tell you what you should take into consideration when making your own decisions. So I just wanted to, I'm wrapping up the final details on that now, and just wanted to, I just wanted to put it out there and let you guys know it's coming up if anyone's interested. I was thinking I might open up to the Patreon people earlier and say, anyone interested, and do that and let people maybe in there have a week and then open it up to everybody else. But I'm thinking like a 14-man league and prizes for the top 3 finishers. And maybe hopefully have 2 or 3 more experienced people in, maybe more experienced than I am, that can give other recommendations and things like that. So that'll be coming up here.
Yeah. So anybody that's a part of our Patreon community, if you're interested in joining that too, there's a link in the description of the video where you can just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. And we'll open up to you guys first. I'm not a big fantasy, football guy. Jacob is definitely more cut from that cloth. But I really do love the fact that so many people get into it, because it does make for interesting conversation. It makes the league that much more fun, much more enjoyable to watch. So definitely check that out, and we'll get y'all information on it. We'll open it up to the Patreon first. But I love how she said, we're willing to share a little information and help one another out. I immediately laughed because Jacob had her in a league last year, and Carly was asking questions, and those a-holes, they weren't going to help anything, were they?
There was 11 of the most a-hole of a-holes. Sweet Harley Ray's like, what do y'all think about this or whatever? She doesn't have a southern accent. Come out that way, but
what do y'all think about this?
What do y'all think about possums? No, Carly, what platform are you going to do? Yahoo, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna do Yahoo because right now that's the only one that I'm familiar with. So I figure it'd be easiest just to go with what I know. My brother is gonna be in one like on ESPN or something that I might get into another one, but I can't do too many because when you actually need to think about it, it takes up some time. So yeah, I want to do it well. So I'm thinking max of 2 probably.
Carly, Eric Sutherland's got an important question. He said, does your fantasy football league take EBT cards?
No EBT, no payday loans, nothing like that.
Chewy knows how the game's played. He said $50 on the dollar. Some of y'all innocent cats.
Eric goes,
hungry, y'all going, what's that even mean?
Hey, that's just the going market rate. Just saying.
What'd you say?
So that's just the going market rate, man. They all know.
I thought you said put the EBT card on a Facebook Marketplace. I thought that's what you said. I was like,
what? I would never say that. I would never say that.
All right, we're out of here, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Sorry it went off the rails like it always does. But
for those of you listening on the pod,
what is this? AFAM says Eric paying his dues with dehydrated venison heart meat. True Wisconsinite right there, no doubt.
Wow.
Which just want to say too, another plug. It'll either be this weekend or next weekend. We're going to launch our own college football podcast here on the show. Okay. And the reason we're doing it's a college football podcast, going to be just one episode a week, most likely. And it's going to be geared around, okay, we're Packer fans. How do we want to keep up with the college football season? So there'll be some Wisconsin Badger talk in there because we got a ton of people that watch the show that are Wisconsin Badgers fans, but it's mostly going to be geared around the national spotlight of college football and who are going to be the next wave of rookies. You know, when you get into the fall, let's say you're sitting around on a Saturday and you think, okay, man, I want to watch a little college football, but I don't know anything about it. We're going to kind of give you a game or two each week and go, hey, here's a game where these 2 prospects are probably going to be a top 100 pick. And they're going head-to-head this week. Or here's your top quarterbacks coming up in the draft. Or from a Packers standpoint, we might be in the defensive line market, right? Okay, here's the top interior defensive linemen that are going to be playing this week. So you can kind of keep an eye out that way. So we'll do a little college football talk this year for y'all too. And again, if that's not your cup of tea, it's totally cool. Just ignore it. Ignore it. You know, we'll make sure it's labeled so you're not getting tricked into thinking it's PTA. And, surprise, we're talking college football. We'll make sure it's labeled so – if it's something you get into, awesome. You can watch it. If not, just keep it moving. So,
well,
what, Jacob? What do you got?
I mean, if everybody's plugging their shows that they're thinking about doing, I mean, possibly. I'm going to do a show with Eric. We're going to be out in the woods. It's going to be called Naked and Bearded and Afraid.
We're naked and bearded, and everyone else is afraid.
Gentlemen, which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
Look at Tim up there.
All right.
Tim looks violated, bro.
I'm looking like Emilio right now. All right.
Oh, man.
Which, by the way, Emilio, man, last night he got on here early, no shirt, grilling in the backyard, didn't he, Tim, before we went live? And Tim said, what you got in the backyard? Is that a toaster? Tim said. It was awesome. Line of the night. So, all right.
Oh, good times.
We're out of here. No, you're not in, Eric. Stop it. Stop bagging this on, bro. All right, we're gone. We'll see y'all tomorrow for a PTA Live. I think what we're going to do, unless you guys disagree, we'll go ahead and jump back to week 1 of last year and watch the highlights. We'll go, week by week and just kind of relive last year. It'll be about a 15-minute highlight reel. We'll be able to pause, rewind, all that good stuff, and kind of take it in and completely understand, all right, what happened? Why did it happen? It won't be as in-depth as the Chalk Talks, which, by the way, those episodes are still on the channel. So you can literally go type in Chalk Talk, Packers, Bears, and it'll pull up both games from last year on our channel. And you can watch those if you want really in-depth, the key, most important plays. This is going to be more of the highlight reel approach, just to kind of get a refresher on what exactly happened last year during the season, that type of thing. We may pull up the box score, too, just to kind of relive that. I think it'd be a good way to get ready for the upcoming season. I'm telling you, it's going to be a blink of an eye, and training camp's going to be here. So we just want to get refreshed and ready to kind of attack the season. And no better way to do that than understanding exactly what happened last year. So with that being said, we're out of here. Tim, help me out here, bro.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. We tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. And try to run this play in the alley.